Everything in my freezer right now is something a supermarket does not want me to have. Marked down roasts from 6 months ago, milk I bought at half price and froze flat, vegetables from my own garden blanched and bagged before the store could sell me the frozen kind for 3 times as much. They call some of these tricks illegal now. I call them Tuesday. I have been doing this for over 30 years, and my grocery bill is half of what my neighbors pay. Number 3 on this list replaces a $100 kitchen gadget with a bowl of water. And number 14 is why the butcher counters started giving me looks. Here are 25 illegal freezer tricks that cut my grocery bill in half. Number 25. Flat freezing ground meat in zip bags. Most people drop a pound of ground beef in the freezer like a baseball. Round, thick, takes an hour to thaw. I stopped doing that decades ago. I put it in a zip bag, press it flat, squeeze every bit of air out, and lay it on a cookie sheet. 15 minutes later, it is frozen solid and thin as a paperback book. When I need it for supper, I can snap it in half and have it thawed in cold water in under 10 minutes. The stores sell those little 1-pound trays for $4 or $5 because they know you are buying for tonight, not thinking ahead. When I buy ground beef, I buy the big tube on sale, split it into flat bags, and that $5 tray becomes about $2 a pound. Nobody at the checkout needs to know how many pounds are in my cart. Number 24. The Markdown Meat Patrol. Every grocery store in this country marks down meat that is close to its sell-by date. They put a yellow sticker on it, drop the price by 30 or 40%, and hope somebody grabs it before they have to throw it out. I know exactly when my store does it. Tuesday mornings and Thursday evenings, I walk straight to the meat case, pick out whatever has that sticker, and it goes into my freezer before the sun goes down. That meat is perfectly good. The sell-by date is not a safety date. It is a shelf management date the store set. Once it is in my freezer, the clock stops. I have cooked roasts that sat in there for 5 months past the sticker date, and they came out tender and beautiful. The stores do not advertise when they mark things down. You have to figure it out yourself. Before I go any further, for the folks who want all of these tricks and more in one place, I put together a guide called Grandma's Grocery Playbook. It has every trick I know written down the way I actually use them. You can find it on my website, frugalfrannie.com. That is all I will say about it. If it is something you could use, it is right there waiting. Now, back to the list. Number 23. Freezing milk flat in bags. Milk goes on sale, and most people just buy 1 gallon because they cannot use 2 before it spoils. I buy 3. I pour the extra into heavy freezer bags, lay them flat, and stack them like file folders. When I need milk, I pull one out, let it thaw in the refrigerator overnight, give it a good shake, and it tastes exactly the way it did the day I bought it. The dairy companies built their whole pricing model on the fact that milk expires fast. You panic, you buy at full price, and you throw out whatever you do not finish. My mother taught me this in 1968, and I have not paid full price for milk since. Number 22. The vegetable scrap stock bag. Every time I peel a carrot, trim an onion, or cut the ends off celery, the scraps go into a bag in my freezer. Onion skins, carrot peels, celery tops, herb stems, mushroom trimmings. When that bag is full, I dump it into a pot with water and let it simmer for an hour. What comes out is a rich vegetable stock that would cost you $4 or $5 a carton at the store. Mine costs nothing. The food companies sell you stock made from the exact same scraps you are throwing away, just with added salt and a nice label. My grandmother never bought a can of broth in her life. She kept a bag in her icebox for the scraps, and when she had enough, she made stock. The only difference between her kitchen and a soup factory is the factory charges you for it. Number 21. Bulk bread freezing on sale day. When bread goes on sale, I buy 5 loaves. I know that sounds like a lot, but every loaf I do not use that week goes straight into the freezer. Bread freezes perfectly. You pull out a loaf, let it sit on the counter for an hour, and it tastes like it came off the shelf that morning. The bakeries rotate bread on a 2-week cycle, full price 1 week, sale the next. If you only buy at full price, you are paying double what I pay. I have not bought bread at full price in years. My freezer has 3 loaves in it right now, and every one of them cost me $1.49 instead of $3. That is the kind of math the store does not want you doing. Number 20. The ice cube tray trick. Leftover pasta sauce. Half a can of coconut milk. A few tablespoons of pesto you did not use. Most people leave it in the fridge and forget about it until it grows something fuzzy. I pour it into ice cube trays and freeze it. Each cube is about 2 tablespoons. When I need sauce for a quick dinner, I pop out 3 cubes and I have a half cup ready in minutes. When I need coconut milk for a recipe, I pull out exactly what I need. The frozen food aisle is full of pre-portioned sauces and seasoning cubes that cost 3 or 4 times what you would spend making your own. My ice cube trays do the same job. I have 6 of them, and not one has ice in it. They are all full of things the store would love to sell me in a tiny jar at a big price. Number 19. Blanching and freezing your own vegetables. This is the one that changed everything for me. Every summer, my garden produces more green beans, corn, and squash than I can eat in a month. For years, I gave the extra away or watched it go soft on the counter. Then my mother reminded me what her mother used to do. You bring a pot of water to a full boil. You drop the vegetables in for 2 to 3 minutes, just long enough to stop the enzymes that cause them to lose color and flavor. Then you plunge them straight into ice water to stop the cooking. Pat them dry, spread them on a sheet pan, freeze them solid, and bag them up. That is blanching. It is the reason my green beans in January taste like July. The frozen vegetable aisle at the grocery store runs on the assumption that you will not do this yourself. Those bags of frozen peas and corn and mixed vegetables are blanched in a factory using the exact same method I just described, then marked up and shipped across the country in a refrigerated truck. You are paying for the truck, the warehouse, the packaging, and the shelf space. I am paying for water and a bag. Last summer, I put up close to 40 pounds of green beans, about 20 pounds of sweet corn, and a good 15 pounds of squash. I did it over 3 weekends. The total cost was the price of the freezer bags, because everything came out of my own garden. If I had bought that much frozen vegetable at the store, I would have spent well over $100. Instead, I spent maybe $8 on bags and a little time on my feet. My grandmother did this every August with nothing but a wood stove and a wash tub full of well water. If she could do it without electricity, you can do it with a modern kitchen. Number 18, freezing cheese from the block. The stores charge you a premium for shredded cheese. Pick up a bag of pre-shredded cheddar and compare the price per pound to a solid block of the same brand. It is almost always more expensive, sometimes by $2 a pound. What they do not tell you is that they add cellulose powder to keep the shreds from clumping. That is wood pulp. I buy the big block when it is on sale, grate it myself, spread it on a baking sheet, freeze it for an hour, then bag it up. The pieces stay loose because they froze separately. I grab a handful whenever I need it, and it melts better than the store-bought shredded kind because there is no filler in it. One 5-pound block on sale keeps my family in cheese for 2 months. Number 17. Freezing eggs on sale. Most people do not know you can freeze eggs. You cannot freeze them in the shell because they will crack, but you can crack them into a muffin tin, 1 egg per cup, freeze them solid, then pop them out and store them in a bag. Each frozen egg thaws in about 20 minutes and works perfectly in baking, scrambled eggs, and casseroles. When eggs go on sale, or when my neighbor's chickens are laying more than her family can eat, I stock up. A dozen eggs frozen in my freezer costs me what the store charges for a half dozen at full price. The egg industry depends on eggs being perishable. That is why they come in a carton with an expiration date, not a freezer bag. Take away the clock, and you take away their leverage. Number 16. The butcher wrap. Freezer burn is not dangerous, but it ruins the taste and texture of meat. It happens when air touches the surface. Most people wrap meat in 1 layer of plastic or foil and hope for the best. My mother taught me to double wrap. First layer, plastic wrap pressed tight against the meat with no air pockets. Second layer, butcher paper or a heavy freezer bag. The 2 layers create a seal that keeps moisture in and air out. I have pulled steaks out of my freezer after 8 months with no sign of freezer burn at all. The stores sell vacuum sealers for over $100 and they work fine, but my mother's method costs a few cents in wrap and does nearly the same job. She kept meat in her chest freezer for the better part of a year this way, and every cut came out looking like the day she bought it. Number 15. Freezing overripe fruit instead of tossing it. When bananas start getting brown spots, most people throw them away. That is exactly what the grocery store wants, because next week you will buy more. I peel them, break them in half, and drop them in a freezer bag. Frozen bananas make the best banana bread you have ever tasted, and they blend into smoothies without needing any ice. I do the same thing with berries that are starting to soften, peaches that are a day past perfect, and grapes that nobody is eating fast enough. None of it goes in the trash. The produce section is designed around the fact that fresh fruit has a short window. You buy more than you need, half of it goes bad, and you come back next week for more. My freezer breaks that cycle completely. Number 14. Breaking down whole chickens and freezing the parts. A whole chicken at my store costs about $1.50 a pound. A package of boneless, skinless chicken breasts costs close to $4 a pound. That is the same animal. The only difference is that someone at the processing plant cut it up for you, and they charge you double for the service. I buy whole chickens when they go on sale, sometimes for less than $1 a pound. I bring them home, lay them on my cutting board, and break them down myself. 2 breasts, 2 thighs, 2 drumsticks, 2 wings, and a back. The breasts go in 1 bag, the thighs and drumsticks in another, the wings in a third, and the backs go straight into my stock bag. That 1 bird becomes 4 separate meals plus the base for a pot of soup. The whole job takes me about 10 minutes and a sharp knife. The poultry industry makes most of its margin on the convenience of pre-cut parts. They know that most people look at a whole chicken and do not know where to start. So they cut it up, put each part on a styrofoam tray, wrap it in plastic, and charge you 2 to 3 times what the whole bird costs. I learned to break down a chicken from my mother when I was about 14. She could do it in 5 minutes with her eyes half closed. It is not complicated. You feel for the joints, cut through the soft spot, and the pieces come apart naturally. The grocery store is counting on you not knowing that. Every whole chicken I break down and freeze saves me somewhere between $6 and $10 compared to buying the parts separately. Over a year, That adds up to hundreds. Number 13. Freezing butter by the case. Butter goes on sale around the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. The stores drop the price because they know everybody is baking. I buy a case, sometimes two. Butter freezes beautifully for up to a year, and it comes out tasting exactly the same. While my neighbors are paying full price in March, I am still using butter I bought in November at half the cost. The dairy industry plans these sales because they overproduce before the holidays and need to move product. They expect you to buy 1 or 2 pounds and come back at full price in January. I buy 10 pounds and disappear from the butter aisle for 6 months. My grandmother kept a full shelf of butter in her deep freeze, and she never once paid more than the lowest sale price of the year. Number 12. The freezer inventory clipboard. This is a trick that does not involve freezing a single thing. I keep a clipboard on the side of my freezer with a list of everything inside it. When I add something, I write it down with the date. When I take something out, I cross it off. It takes 5 seconds. The reason this matters is that the number one cause of food waste in a home freezer is not freezer burn. It is forgetting what you put in there. You buy chicken thighs because you think you are out, then you find 3 bags buried in the back. Now you have too much, and something gets thrown away. The stores benefit every time that happens. If you always knew exactly what was in your freezer, you would buy less. That is why no store will ever tell you to keep a list. A clipboard and a pencil is all it takes. Number 11. Batch cooking and freezing full meals. I spend one Sunday a month cooking 4 or 5 big meals in bulk. Chili, casseroles, soups, stews, pasta bakes. I portion them into containers and stack them in the freezer. On a busy night when I'm too tired to cook, I pull one out and heat it up. It tastes like a home-cooked meal because it is one. The frozen dinner aisle at the grocery store exists because people do not do this. Those little trays of lasagna and chicken pot pie cost $5 to $8 each, and they are made with the cheapest ingredients the factory can get away with. My homemade versions cost a fraction of that, and they actually taste like food. One big pot of chili makes 8 servings. Frozen and portioned, that is 8 dinners at about $1.50 each. You will not find that price in any freezer case at the store. Number 10. Freezing tomato paste in tablespoon dollops. Every recipe that calls for tomato paste needs a tablespoon or 2. The can holds about 10 tablespoons, so you open it, use what you need, put the can in the fridge, and forget about it. A week later, it has a layer of something growing on top and you throw it away. Next month, you buy another can. I open the whole can, drop tablespoon-sized dollops onto a sheet of wax paper, freeze them, and toss them in a bag. Now I have 10 perfectly portioned pieces of tomato paste ready to go whenever I need them. I have not thrown away a half-used can of tomato paste in 20 years. That little can only costs about $1, but when you are throwing away 9/10 of it every time, the waste adds up faster than you think. Number 9. Freezing citrus juice in cubes. When lemons and limes are cheap, which is usually in the winter, I buy a big bag, juice them all at once, and pour the juice into ice cube trays. Each cube is about 2 tablespoons of fresh juice. I use them in recipes, in water, in tea, and in marinades all year long. 1 lemon at the store costs close to $1 most of the year. A bag of 10 in season costs about $3. I get the juice out of all of them while they are cheap, freeze it, and I have fresh citrus on hand for months. The produce department makes good money on lemons and limes because people buy them one at a time, use half, and let the other half dry out on the counter. I buy them once and use every single drop. Number 8. Cook once, freeze twice. This is the trick that saves me more money than anything else on this list. Every time I make dinner, I double the recipe. If I am making a pot of soup, I make 2 pots. If I am baking a casserole, I bake 2. The second one goes straight into the freezer before we even sit down to eat. The extra cost of doubling a recipe is almost nothing. A second pound of beans, a few more carrots, another onion, maybe $2 more in ingredients. But that second batch gives me a full meal ready to go on a night when I would otherwise be tempted to pick something up from a drive-thru. And a drive-thru meal for 2 people runs $12 to $15 minimum these days. My frozen homemade meal costs about $3. I learned this from watching my mother every single Saturday. She cooked 2 of everything, and the second batch went into the freezer wrapped in foil with a piece of tape on top that said what it was and when she made it. By the end of the month, she had a freezer full of ready meals and a grocery budget that made the neighbors wonder how she managed. The restaurant and fast food industry depends on you being too tired to cook. That is their entire business model. When you have a freezer full of meals you already made, you never reach that point where ordering out sounds like the only option. I figured I saved somewhere around $200 a month just by making 2 of everything. Over a year, that is well over $2,000 that stays in my pocket instead of going to a restaurant or a frozen food company. Number 7. Freezing leftover rice flat. Cooked rice is one of the best things you can freeze and one of the things people waste the most. If I make a pot of rice and have leftovers, I spread it into a thin layer in a freezer bag, press the air out, and lay it flat. It freezes solid in about an hour and stacks neatly. When I need rice, I pull a bag out, break off what I need, and warm it up with a splash of water. It comes out soft and fluffy, almost like fresh. Rice that sits in the fridge gets hard and dry after a couple of days. In the freezer, it stays good for months. The stores sell those little pouches of pre-cooked microwavable rice for $2 or $3 each. One bag of dry rice costs about the same and makes 10 times as much. Number 6. The one-trip-a-month method. Here is the trick the grocery store does not want you to figure out. If you set up a chest freezer in your garage or basement, fill it on one big sale day, and organize it so you can find everything without digging, you never have to walk into a store more than once a month. That is the whole method. One trip, one list, one checkout. The stores build their profits on frequency. They want you in there twice a week, walking past the end caps and the impulse buys and the checkout candy. Every single trip averages out to spending more than you planned. I have had my chest freezer for over 20 years. It runs on about the same electricity as a light bulb left on all day, just a few dollars a month. But the money I save by not making those extra trips, not grabbing the things I did not come for, not paying full price because I ran out of something midweek, that adds up to more than I care to count. One trip a month. That is the trick they do not teach you. Number 5. First in, first out. This is the system every restaurant kitchen in the country uses, and most home cooks have never heard of it. When you put new food in the freezer, it goes in the back. When you take food out, it comes from the front. The oldest items get used first. It sounds so simple it is almost embarrassing. But most people do the opposite. They shove new bags in front of whatever is already in there and the old stuff gets buried. 6 months later, they find a mystery package in the back coated in frost. First in, first out means nothing sits in there long enough to lose quality. I rotate everything once a month, and I have not thrown out a single item from my freezer in years. The stores throw away enormous amounts of expired product every year. I throw away nothing. Number 4, freezing fresh herbs in olive oil. Fresh herbs go bad in a week, sometimes less. A bunch of basil from the store costs $2 or $3 and half of it ends up in the trash before you use it. I chop my herbs, pack them into ice cube trays, pour a little olive oil over each one, and freeze them. When I need herbs for a pasta sauce or a pan of roasted vegetables, I pop out a cube and drop it straight into the hot pan. The oil melts, the herbs cook right in, and the flavor is close to fresh. This works with basil, rosemary, thyme, parsley, cilantro, and just about any herb you can grow or buy. The spice aisle sells dried herbs in tiny jars for $4 or $5 each. My frozen herb cubes cost pennies and taste better because they never dried out. Number 3, water displacement sealing. You do not need a vacuum sealer. Take a zip bag, fill it with whatever you want to freeze, and seal it almost all the way closed, leaving about an inch open at one corner. Lower the bag slowly into a bowl or a sink full of water. The water pushes all the air out through that little opening. When the water reaches the seal line, press it shut. You now have an almost perfect vacuum seal. No machine, no special bags, no money spent. The kitchen gadget companies sell vacuum sealers for over $100, plus the proprietary bags that only work with their machine. My method uses a regular zip bag and a bowl of water I already own. It is not quite as tight as a machine seal, but it is close enough that I have kept meat in perfect condition for 6 months this way. My mother never owned a vacuum sealer, and her frozen food kept just as long as anybody's. Number 2, portioning bulk snacks into freezer bags. The stores sell single-serve bags of nuts, pretzels, crackers, and dried fruit at 3 to 4 times the price per ounce of the bulk version. You are paying for the packaging, not the food. I buy the biggest bag I can find, portion it out into small freezer bags at home, and toss them in the freezer. Freezing keeps nuts and dried fruit fresh for months without going stale or rancid. One large bag of almonds from the bulk section costs about $6. The same amount in single-serve packages costs $20 or more. The only difference is a zip bag and 2 minutes of my time. The snack companies depend on convenience packaging being worth a 300% markup. For me, it never has been. Number 1, the Freezer Challenge Month. Once a year, I pick a month and I eat only what is already in my freezer and pantry. No grocery store, no exceptions. I call it a freezer challenge, and it is the most effective thing on this entire list. By the end of that month, I have cleaned out everything that has been sitting too long, I have made meals out of combinations I never would have tried otherwise, and my grocery spending for that month is close to zero. The stores count on you shopping every week no matter what. That weekly habit is worth more to them than any single item you buy. When you step out of that cycle for even 1 month, you realize how much of what you normally buy you did not actually need. My spending drops for months afterward because the awareness sticks. Try it once. Pick a month, use what you have, and see what happens to your budget. I have been doing this every January for over 15 years, and it is the reason the supermarkets have never gotten the better of me. My freezer is 11 cubic feet. Everything I just told you fits inside it. Pick one trick off this list and try it this week. Just one. Then come back and tell me which one you started with, because I read every single comment and I want to hear your number. Next time, I am going to show you what I do with a $5 bag of potatoes that lasts my family a whole month. My grandmother never needed a class or a coupon app. She just needed a freezer and some common sense. So do you.